People ask me regularly, as they probably ask you, how are you? And I say, do you want the novel? Or do you want me to say fine? And fine is the easy answer, obviously, and says nothing, but it's what most people say. Because most people don't want the novel, and most people aren't writers, and most people don't communicate well. And when you open that door, the flood of mixed emotions and thoughts and concepts that come rolling out at you are often hard to deal with. That's why we like literature. And somebody can tell their story appropriately with a certain kind of investment, novelistic understanding, and awareness of people's energy to comprehend. That helps. This is going to be a weird talk, I think. Sorry. Okay, well, now that we know that for a fact, this is I've been coming to a kind of completion with my life. Chris Brady has been helping Blanche and I do our wills, our powers of attorney, our healthcare proxies. Thank you. Getting it all together. Got a safe deposit box. Everything's in the box, almost. My son Josh has a signatory that he can go in the box if he needs it. And it just feels good to have that stuff done in life. I am just literally hours away from finishing the audio version, meaning my recording of my memoir. Hopefully even today it will be done. That word done is massive on some level. It really feels like all the I's have been dotted and the T's have been crossed that needed to be done to complete a life. I noticed in reading my memoir out loud how often I say many things over and over. You know me. But one of them I keep talking about is, and now I feel complete. When I got married, when my son was born, when my second son was born, when my first grandchild was born, when my second grandchild was born, the sense of completeness has been really powerful. Oddly enough, finishing reading the memoir out loud, which I have had a dynamic push to do, feels completing. This is coupled with a sense of finality. The word done, done. There's something wonderfully satisfying about it, and there's something unsatisfying or disturbing about done, because it has so many major implications in the world. But I have my entire life had a sense of what comes next, and I don't have that at all. At all. The only thing I know that is next is this winter Christmas cruise that we are leaving for this week on a boat with 4,000 people and a family of 40 coming to celebrate the anniversary of my sister Marcy and her brother Alan. It's a big celebration, even though my brother Gary and sister Susie just had their 50th, and Blanche and I are moving toward our 54th or 55th. So there's been a lot of celebration, and this is a cruise supposedly focusing on celebration, but how you celebrate on a ship with water slides and 4,000 people running around and all of these things, I have no idea. And nothing in me wants to go other than to be a loving and good family member. My son Ari found that, one, his wife can't go on the cruise because her visas are not in order at this point. And secondly, since he now took this job with the Justice Department, that He is not allowed to use the internet on the ship to do work, and he has to work through the whole cruise. So he will not be able to go on the cruise. So a part of me felt sad, and then another part of me felt, thank God, they won't be there. Because I'm having these intimations, forgive me, I'm a dramatist, a storyteller, but they are very strong, that I, possibly we, but I, may not come back from the cruise. That could be a biological fact, or it could be a spiritual fact. Kind of, there will be something, because I'm not coming back to anything specific. I'm not coming back to plans for the future. I have no plans for the future. My only sense of future is caring for my wife, period. There's an element of wanting to be available to all of you, but God knows there's nothing I haven't said. It's all there. It's all on tape. You can go to YouTube anytime you want. If there's a kind of question about the little bit I do understand about the world we're in. So this sense of mortality is potent, and it's been there for well over a week, 2 or 3 weeks, growing dynamically. Of course, the fact that there are huge storms right now in Florida, where the boat leaves from, and projections of more, and hurricanes, and God knows what. So, it's not like it's a totally imagined experience. But I keep thinking of Rudi, and when he said that he was going to die in an airplane crash the weekend of his death, and told students and asked his teachers, he told a number of students to gather in New York. And he told them exactly what was going to happen. I was not privileged to that, but I heard that after the fact. But he knew. And I always wonder, what did he know? How does that knowing happen? And what do you do with that knowing? And it's been such a profound few weeks for me of what I would call grief, just grief. And then, of course, it's magnified by the thing we've been talking about for the last few months, the kind of massive grief affecting planetary space. The world is filling with grief. Some of us have let it in. Some of us have gone, oh, but I don't have any barrier. So I'm feeling it. And my response to it is more and more just simply the Buddhistic acceptance. The general feeling is, give me pills, give me alcohol, give me anything, get me out of this. That is not, unfortunately, the best Buddhistic, Hinduistic, Jewish, Christian response to grief or to fear or to annihilation or whatever, in fact, may be aligning itself. Because, first of all, it will one day. It absolutely will, for each one of you in its own way. You may wake up one day and go, oh, tomorrow it's going to happen, or next week. And you'll have to deal with that. It's not as if it hasn't been part of the equation from the very beginning. Impermanence is the core of the whole Buddhist teaching. We're only here temporarily. We're only here for a short little experience of what life is or could be or might be. Some of us have had amazing stories in our life journey. Some have had stories that aren't exactly what we would have written or wanted, but there they are. Some of us are better writers than others. But we've had an equal amount of awareness, maybe that's the wrong word, an equal amount of being in this amazing, unknowable, unexplainable experience of being. Every one of us has had that. Some of your minds relate to it with a certain amount of dissatisfaction, unhappiness, should have been otherwise, regrets, drama, all the stuff that goes on. And the older I get, even day by day now, and I look at everybody and I go, how did they live that life? The level of immersion in mindful engagement with a crazy universe or an unknowable universe is amazing. And all the stories each one of you have and I have written are really, really interesting. But mine keeps coming up with a word that's really incredible. It says, I feel complete. All these little events have made me complete. And there is a kind of incredible satisfaction. And if this is my last week, and I don't know that, but if it is, I do feel complete in a way that is joyous and beautiful and wonderful. And the grief that I feel in leaving you, this beautiful home, my wife, and everyone I really care about in the world is great. But the thing about grief is not to turn away from it, not to wish it that it wouldn't happen. It happens. And it will happen probably for everybody. Probably everybody. And the only reason it probably wouldn't happen is if you have that instantaneous departure from the world. But then if you've seen Jacob's Ladder, or you've read the Tibetan Book of the Dead, or you understand the Bardo idea, the grief comes after. In the departure from this world, you get an opportunity to take care of all the grieving and unfinished business that you didn't take care of while you were alive. And there's a certain powerful grief of wishing you had done all that, taken care of all of it while you were alive, because this idea of being complete is very, very touching and satisfying. And the idea of not being complete is painful. And the Bardo transition, if that in fact does occur, the afterlife of having to undo, fix, repair, change, let go of all the attachments and dramas that you've brought into your existence, if you have to go through all that, it's not easy. It's unbelievable work, more work than this lifetime is work. And the opportunity to do all that, to arrive at completeness, is right in front of you now. And it doesn't take that much. It takes accepting this life as it is right at this moment, as total and absolutely whole. If you can't do that, if you find that there are things in your life that are missing, unfinished, needs to be done, taken care of, do it. Do it. At least the trying is essential. You may not achieve it. You may not get the person who hates you to like you. You may not get the thing you didn't do 40 years ago to suddenly turn around and get done. That doesn't happen. But you can go to it and go, it's fine. It's fine. I didn't do it. I couldn't do it. It was wrong at the time. Let it go. And this letting go process, which is at the core of the meditative practice we do, this surrender, is looking at all the stuff that you're still going like that. Not a good choice. And the meditative journey is an opportunity, not a guarantee. It's an opportunity that you can come into this moment and you can go, please help me to let go. Please help me to surrender. Please help me to accept. Whatever word you choose, you can ask for that, and you can ask sincerely. And if you have a doorway into the place of forgiveness, the place that loves you, the place that embraces you, and you're not just trying to make it happen in the outer amorphous impermanent space around you, but it goes to this deeper, deeper place, you can find the thing that goes, I forgive, I forgive, I let it go. I couldn't do that thing when I was 12. I couldn't achieve that thing. I couldn't have married that person. Whatever those things are that are haunting your life to this day, let it go. There is a certain blessing in dementia and Alzheimer's, because it takes care of a lot of that for you. You just can't remember that stuff. The mind that holds on to your drama just starts to finally let it go. And I don't see that as a curse, to be honest. But for the normal human being, the job, the job is yours. How do you find a way of forgiving, opening, saying thank you, saying, I've lived a whole life, done, I feel complete. How do I get to that place? And I can only tell you, it's not like exactly a done deal, because every other minute something comes up. You know, if I'm on a boat that's going down into the Atlantic and my family's with me, there's no completeness. There won't be any sense of completeness. There will be struggle and anger and annoyance and all of that stuff that can come up in mass suffering. But there may be, at some moment, my Aunt Esther told me this because she was drowning in the Pacific once. And she said she couldn't believe, in the middle of this horrible struggle, the sudden peace that came over her. And my Aunt Esther. And she said she was ready to go. So if my Aunt Esther can do it, all of us here can do it, and that peace may arrive. But it doesn't arrive without all of the need to embrace the drama, do the thing, reach out to help somebody. You know, your last moments can still be eloquent. They can still be beautiful. And even if they're not, even if they're filled with, no, not me, and all that kind of crap, you can go, even that is human. Even that is part of the equation. You don't have to be a perfect saint to leave the world as a saint. You can leave the world with an enormous amount of acceptance and completion, even if the last moment is the moment you don't want to watch in a movie. You know, we all want Hollywood endings. We do not all get Hollywood endings. Sometimes they are poetic endings. They are understated. If you watch all the movies that are in the Oscar race this year, very few Hollywood endings. Very few people looking at the world right now through a lens of, oh, yes, it's not Doris Day and Rock Hudson anymore. We are in a different phase of the human journey. Whatever phase we're in, it really requires a feeling that I have made peace with the wholeness of my life. And if there are still things out there that need to be done, to the best of your ability, do them. But it may be that you have to let go of those things to feel done. You may not feel at that point complete. And that's kind of a mental problem. You know, you feel it's not finished, I could have done more, whatever. You have all that. That's very human. It's very human. And if you can get to that little grace note of going, I'm human. I'm human. I cannot do it all. I cannot have it all. I have had a temporary ride in this amazing space that is incomprehensible to us human beings. We may have teachings that give us some concept of it, some idea of what this all is, but I will tell you in my own experience now, they're all fading away. I am clueless about what this is, but I am grateful to be touching it, breathing it, smelling it, seeing it, loving it, and all of that. That's all any of us do. And our stories are crazy and complicated and not satisfying, and this goes wrong and that goes wrong. But if you're a poet takes all these disparate elements of their journey and weaves them together into something that goes, ah. Great poetry always makes you feel that. Ah. And it absolutely makes peace with incompletion, dissatisfaction, sadness, all the stuff of life that we try to avoid. Great poetry comes down to, Rumi, Kabir, they're great spiritual poets. Read them. Feel the way life suddenly, in its strangeness, becomes knowable, becomes celebratory, something that you really do love, that you're really truly grateful to and grateful for. My only wish for all of you, and today's class was really strong, there was a sense of wanting to wrap it up for everybody, to give you all the last sort of little pat on the head that you need in life to get through. But I'll tell you an interesting, you've probably heard this story, and those of you who haven't can read my memoir. It's all these horrible stories, endless stories are in it. They're not horrible, but they're awful, a lot of Bruce in it. But when Rudi died, and there was this incredible sense of loss, and I didn't feel that final moment that would have left me, okay, now I can do it feeling. It was really something happened afterward, almost immediately. We had just found out that day that Rudi had died. I was in a state of shock, but not total, because on the ride from my office at the Whitney Museum coming up to coming downtown really to the class, and I had, interestingly enough, had lunch with Brian De Palma that day, and all I talked about was Rudi. And then I was on the subway coming down, and I said, Rudi's dead. I had no way of knowing that at all. Got to the classroom, and in the store downstairs from it, Quintessence, all Rudi's students were gathering. I was wondering, well, I kind of get it. And I walked in, and Jason Liu, dear friend, said, Rudi's dead. And I knew it. I then had to teach a class in Hatha Yoga because nobody else knew it in the class yet. And I taught without telling anybody what had happened. And then the class happened, and it was announced, and it was pretty tragic. Everyone went upstairs afterward, but I just stayed in the classroom. And I was feeling overwhelmed with emotion, and just beyond. It was, the impossible had happened. And I'm lying there prostrate. I was bowing down to Rudi, and suddenly something goosed me in the butt. I went like that. There was nobody there. And I went, oh. And it was absolutely knowing that Rudi had come from the other side and goosed me. The perfect communication from the other side, the greatest awareness of immortality that I could ever imagine, perfectly coming from Rudi. Wow. So I went upstairs from that point on, and I have never mourned Rudi because I've never felt his absence, ever. So I tell you all that. I don't know that I won't come back from this 4,000 people cruise. I don't know that things will necessarily end in that space, and they may just simply be truly the beginning of a new part of my life and the end of one part, depicting itself right now as what can I say, resistance to going. But if I don't come back, I will do my best to goose every one of you as quickly and as easily as I can, and hopefully you'll feel it. If you don't feel it,
on my ear, please.
On your ear. Okay, I'll go for Tony's ear, but everybody else. And I have a feeling the universe tells you where to do it. But whatever it may be, all I can tell you is I deeply and profoundly love you guys, all of you guys. I just love you. And it's a love that is beyond person, beyond Bruce, beyond a contained worldly moment. It is something greater. I know it, I feel it, and it's not me that loves you. It is myself, or ourself, the self, that loves you. And it loves you beyond anything you in your mind can imagine. You can feel it, you can experience it inside, but you cannot know it because this is too limited. But you can experience it. And I experience Rudi to this day. And I experience his lineage. Whatever it is that's going on here has nothing to do with Bruce. Bruce just got told early on in this journey on my LSD trip 50 some years ago, when I tried to understand what had happened, and I didn't. And I asked why this had happened, and it said to tell people what you saw. Well, this entire journey has been me trying to tell you what I saw. And when I do those last words of the recording, maybe this afternoon, of my memoir, done. Done. We'll see where it goes from there. Now I'll sell a book. Come February, this book will be made available as a printed memoir, and it will be available as an Audible book. So those of you who would rather listen, I'm told there's more people like that nowadays than readers, it will be available that way. It will be, my website, brucejoelrubin.com, has now been sort of expanded by Anne Cameron, who's been my helper and assistant for decades. So now all the pictures I couldn't get into the book of my entire life are now in the website, along with my screenplays and my movies and the photography and these talks. So it's a strange amalgamation of a lot of stuff. But even if I'm gone, it's all there, right on your computer. And you can get any of it that you want. And I would even suggest you do the same for people yourself. Make a website, put yourself down if you care about anybody remembering you. Not that I don't love you and honor all of you, but my grandchildren are the key motivating force for that. I just want them to know I was around, and I want them to know how important they are in my life and how grateful I am and how much I had to work on and let go of in my life to make their arrival possible. That's all in the book. And I'm nothing but grateful to all of you. So I don't know if this is a goodbye or just see you next year. Whatever it is, whatever it may be, I really, really want to wish you a happy new year, a happy rest of your lives, something beyond happy, even a kind of awakened life that you can really look back on and say, I feel complete. Thank you. Tony.
You began the talk, or near the beginning of the talk, with talking about how Rudi had told a bunch of his students in New York. When I was living in Big Indian at the time, as I think we've talked about, the way we heard that Rudi had died was Richard Smith got up in front and said, Rudi told me people would think he was dead in a plane crash, and then he was going to blow everyone's minds by showing up in the Middle East. That's, I mean, and so do you care to comment on that?
No, not at all. No, no way at all.
Okay.
Thank you so much for so many teaching. I've known you my whole life. I'm so grateful for you being my teacher in this life. Truly.
Yeah, me too.
Truly. It's been an honor and a privilege to be able to sit with you. I remember so many things of you telling me, but one that comes back often, which is there are no shortcuts. And the minute that you take one, Tara, you will double the time. And it has proven so true in my life. And so many journeys, experiences, and life lessons. However, the one that has been the most major lesson is happiness. It is kicking butt in every direction. And there are no shortcuts for single motherhood, especially being a disabled single mother. And I'm doing the most able.
I know I've watched what's happening. Your daughter is your best teacher, and it always turns out that the people closest to us are our best teachers. Blanche has become my absolutely best teacher, and we get the person we need to find how to become reactive as loving and kind as opposed to angry and annoyed. And if you can figure that out day by day by day, Buddhistic tradition will flower in your life, and you will feel totally open, kind, and loving, and embracing of the unknown.
I didn't get to finish. I wanted to thank you because I could not do this.
You're welcome.
If not for all the teaching and all of these meditation practices. I just wanted to
Thank you.
Shirley.
I know you do. Thank you. I'm not looking at the computer. Anybody there have, nope. Okay. Anybody else? Is that it?
Thank you. Thank you. Bruce.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming. Thank you for bearing with all this, because God knows I just felt I needed to say it with some sort of intercession here. I'll see you again next year. And if not, thank you.